In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I have seen the Lord. You might not know this, but there are actually two gospel passages suggested or set aside for the principal service on Easter Sunday. And every year, I pick the longer one. I do it because it's a beautiful passage, filled with action, comedy, tears, divine revelation, and a powerful proclamation. The other, shorter passage doesn't even directly feature Jesus, which is by itself a good reason to not read it. But this year I had extra reason to choose this gospel passage. And I didn't even know it until after I'd already selected it. So what did we hear today? The passage from John's Gospel picks up where we left off on Good Friday. Jesus has been placed in the tomb. And now, 3 days later, early on Easter morning, Sunday morning, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and found the stone had been rolled away. And then she ran to tell Simon, Peter, and John. Peter and John raced each other to get to the tomb. They arrived, discovered it empty, and then they went home. But Mary Magdalene stayed and wept. And two angels appeared in the room, asked her why she was crying. She told them that someone had taken away her Lord. Mary then turned around and saw a man behind her. He asked her the same question. She thought he was a gardener, and so she asked him where he had put the body. Then the man changed everything with one word. Mary. She looked at him again and cried out, Rabbi, because she realized that it had been Jesus talking to her. But Jesus immediately told her not to hold on to him, because he had yet to ascend to God. Instead, he told her to go and tell the disciples that he had returned and would soon ascend to God. And so she ran off and told the disciples, I have seen the Lord. And one of the reasons that I cherish this Easter passage especially is because the key figure isn't one of those many male disciples. No, other than Jesus, obviously. The main figure here is Mary Magdalene. She has been maligned by many throughout the history of the church. And they did this because she was a woman. Mary Magdalene was indeed a devout and faithful follower of Jesus. And this passage demonstrates that by clearly setting her apart. Again, remember, it was Mary who went to the tomb first on Easter morning. She found it open and alerted others. Peter and John raced each other to see who could get there first, being very human and male. They found it empty and just went home. But Mary Magdalene stayed, cried, and probably prayed. And angels appeared and asked her what was wrong. And finally, the one that she had been weeping over appeared to her. And changed her world with just one word. That leads us to the ending of the passage. And another detail that sets this Easter passage apart. Jesus told Mary to tell the disciples that he would soon be ascending to God. But when she went to them, she began with something far more simple. 5 words should have changed their words. I have seen the Lord. She was serving as a missionary, an evangelist, to those 11 remaining disciples. She had been appointed to those roles by nothing less than the risen Christ, the Son of God. And as I said, those words that she said should have changed the world of the disciples. But they didn't. They remained filled with doubt and fear, as we will hear next Sunday. Mary Magdalene was one of the first people appointed by Jesus to go out and proclaim the resurrection. And in many ways, that makes her the very first apostle, or at least one of the first. That is because the actual word apostle comes from the Greek phrase for one who is sent off. So, Mary Magdalene was the first person sent off by the resurrected Jesus, and therefore the first apostle. But this detail also has special significance for us, St. Stephen's, as a worshiping community. We have come a long way the past 4 years. Throughout much of 2020 and 2021, we were unable to worship together in person, with a few exceptions. And then, as we began to start new challenges arose. Finally, a year ago, we held an important parish meeting to talk about what was next for us. And that led to a long process involving many meetings, a lot of hard work, and prayer. It culminated in the sale of the building that had been our home for 71 years. And now we might find ourselves in a position not that dissimilar from Mary Magdalene on that Sunday morning 2,000 years ago. What's next for me? For us? Just like Mary, Jesus is telling us to get to work. As you might have picked up in recent months, I have been encouraging us to shift into a mission-minded or missional mindset. The pandemic forced us into a maintenance mode, focused on keeping the lights on and having Sunday worship. And those are very important things. But we are to do, to be. We must work together to discern what sort of ministries we are called to be engaged in, what we will be known for and as. At the end of today's service, I will implore all of you all of you. So ponder. Share your thoughts about what we should do. Put up a piece of paper in the back with some markers and invite people to share their thoughts, their ideas. Today, we celebrate the gift of new life and new opportunities. That is what Easter is all about. We are an Easter people. That is what it means to follow Jesus. We, as a community of St. Stephen's, are also an Easter people. We have been through the depths and have come out the other side, renewed, reborn. Now we are called on to figure out what is next for us. We are called to follow the example of Mary Magdalene and pray, seeking to discern God's will for us. And so, as we celebrate the gift of new life, Jesus opened for all through his death and resurrection, we must also remember that it is on us to go out into the world as missionaries, apostles, and ministers for God, and proclaim through word and deed that which Mary did all those years ago. I have seen the Lord. Amen.